The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we're joined by Dan Green, a fellow Brit, actually, founder of Black Briar Development Incorporated. With nearly a decade in luxury real estate, Daniel has led over 25 projects in LA, specializing in acquisition, financing, development, and construction. And he also connects accredited investors with high-end opportunities and streamlines labor sourcing through the on-tap trade system. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here.
Well, so first of all, we've got to go with your backstory. Like, what are you doing in LA? Well, what was the inspiration behind you doing what you're doing now?
Well, you know what? I like to tell everybody, behind any big move to another place in the world, there tends to always be a woman, right?
I knew it.
Right? And it's just the truth of the matter, right? A lot of times, you know, women drive these decisions. And I met my wife actually traveling around the world. I was traveling to all around the world, actually. I bought a round the world ticket and flew kind of 7 destinations around the world. But I met her in Bali, and she was raised in Singapore. We fell in love. We kind of hopscotched around the world for each other. We ended up back in London together. And then she's like, Dan, it's too cold. It's raining all the time. You need to find a job in either Asia or America or I'm out. And I'm like, oh, shit. I got to figure this out, right? So I was working for a company called Gardner and Theobald at the time. They're a British kind of cost project management consultancy firm based out of London. And I was kind of, you know, fresh out of college, right? I was 23. You know, my wife's, girlfriend at the time, wife now with 2 lovely children, was like, you got to figure this out. So I went into my boss's office and I said, you know, is there any opportunities to go somewhere else? Like, when they had multiple offices, right? And actually at the time they just put a post out saying they were starting an office in LA. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'd love to go there. And I said to my boss, send me to LA. And he said, look, Dan, you're too young. You don't have enough experience. We're not sending you to LA. Like, I literally been with the company maybe 6-8 months, right? Not very long. And I was like, kept going into his office, asking him every day, send me to LA. And then one day I was like, went into his office and I said, listen, out of everybody in this office, I may be the youngest and I may be the least experienced, but that also means I'm the cheapest to send. So, you know, and so that was their convincing point. They're like, all right, we're going to send you to LA. So they sent me to LA, and, you know, the rest is history. I've been here 20 years now. So.
Wow. Fantastic. And so what was the inspiration though behind getting into real estate though initially?
Well, I think the inspiration behind getting into real estate originally was probably from my friends. As a kid growing up in England, a lot of my mates, you know, troublesome kind of kids, like, I know a lot of them left school early and end up going to the trades, right? It's electricians, plumbers, other tradesmen. And my father actually was my headmaster at my school, can you believe it or not. And so he was kind of the only one that really managed to keep me in school. And so I was like, eventually figured out that maybe I should come at this with a different approach, from a management perspective, right? And figure out how still to be in the construction industry with my mates, but approaching it from a different perspective, right? And that's how I kind of looked to get into project management, construction from that perspective, because, you know, I still wanted to be in construction and I wanted to do that, but not necessarily, you know, swinging a hammer.
And well, Look, you're in a place where, well, it's pretty competitive, right? LA is quite a competitive market. So what unique opportunities did you see that made you want to even launch this Black Briar development?
Well, I think like the experience that I got working for a different company, which is always important, right? As a young person, I think it's important to get experience working for other people in your industry before you then go and launch your own business on your own, because you kind of just learn how to do it, right? A little bit more in insides of a business and the operations of a business. So the firm that I was working for taught me some of that. But I always wanted to kind of get back to the building game as opposed to being an owner's rep. There's a big difference between an owner's rep and a builder, right? Owner's rep is more representing owners, guiding them through the process of construction. Building is, really being a contractor. You're kind of on the other side. So I started to think about how could I get into being a builder. And we started with doing some owner's rep services for some bigger houses, but we were representing the owner, overseeing other contractors. And then as we developed these relationships with owners over time, we got to the place with them where we said, well, how about we build one for you ourselves and be the contractor next? And so we worked our way up from smaller houses where we, just did some remodels and stuff like that, and bigger houses. And so, going from doing a 2,000 square foot house or a 3,000 square foot house, and really just working our way up to the bigger houses. I always like to say, you get the job first in some ways and then figure out how you're going to do it, right? And that's true in every step that you take that's a little bit bigger than your boots of what you've done before. You always have to try something the first time once, right? So trying to just take incremental steps to kind of getting, well, if I can build a 5,000 square foot house, why can't I build a 7,000 square foot house? And if I can build a 7,000 square foot house, why can't I build a 10,000 square foot house? And, you'd always get questions from clients. Are you sure you've got enough experience? Have you done this, done that, want to see your portfolio? But one opportunity tends to lead to the next, and then you get repeat clients as well. And before you know it, we're building 40,000 square foot in Holmby Hills, on a 4-acre estate.
Awesome. Well, I mean, but you're bringing so many skills to the table. It's that you've got a mixture of project management, you've got the construction. So, and now this is all helping you shape your approach to investing, helping people with real estate investing.
Yeah, I think that the natural progression over time, as what started off as an owner's rep that developed into being a contractor, and has now developed into us being a developer, raising our own capital, building our own projects. It's just a natural progression for me that I've enjoyed going through. And I think also in a lot of ways, building for an end user is great, but you're ultimately seeing through their vision, right? Whereas as a developer, if you're building a custom spec house that's for sale, you get to craft it the way that you want, and you get to have a lot more input into the design process. And you kind of a little bit more of the ruler of your own destiny, because you're not in a situation that the client is slowing you down. They tend to make changes. They tend to not understand things, and you're reporting to them. Whereas as a developer, you're really kind of just, let's go. We can shortcut a lot of different things. You get to avoid some of those difficult conversations, and kind of that feeling of a little bit stepping on eggshells when you've got to be very careful about what you say to a client, what you don't say to a client. Whereas if you're just a developer and you're in charge, you can kind of just go and do what you want to do. And, you can also go a lot quicker, I think, as a builder. And, that's great. We love doing that. I still love building houses for end users as well, but we like to develop. We do both now, right?
Right. And it's less emotional, I suppose, isn't it? Because when you're dealing with people's individual personal home, rather than you can just do that project. Now,
it's definitely less emotional. That's true.
Yeah. What excites you most about the future of LA with real estate? Like, they've had the phenomenal fires. It's been absolutely tragic. But where do you see things going from now?
Well, I think that for LA or for just the US in general, last year was probably a pretty tough year for a lot of people. I think that, interest rates were very high. It was an election year. There was a lot of kind of wait and see mentality, like, let's see what's going to happen. And now I'm seeing a lot more positivity going into this year. I'm seeing a lot more activity in the real estate market, a lot more product moving, that's selling on, market stuff that's selling. There was a lot of bigger homes that were sitting on the market for an extended period of time that weren't moving. With the fires, it's kind of good and bad, right? It's bad. Lots of people's houses are burnt down. And also that kind of affects people's mentalities elsewhere. Like, does that mean people maybe generally might be more moving out of LA, because they're like scared about fires happening in their area or whatever. But there's also a lot of positivity from some perspectives about people wanting to rebuild something better and more sustainable and something that's going to stand the test of time. And how do they do that in the most effective way to get a house where they know that this is not going to happen again, right? That we're not going to have these types of fires and that the house can burn down. So there's a lot of talk about what does that mean from building material standpoint, from smart home perspectives, from different technologies that can go into these homes, the type of materials that are used to make sure that they won't burn down and they're protected from the fires, going forward. So we're having a lot of those kinds of conversations with homeowners at the moment about what that process looks like. There's obviously still this big scar and there's a big emotional feeling of a lot of homeowners, and a lot of them just don't know where to start, and they're not sure what to do. They don't know if they should rebuild. They don't know, they're kind of waiting and watching and seeing what the government is doing and how things are going to play out. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of different things happening. Like everything you can imagine is happening, is probably happening. Some people want to rebuild. Some people just want to sell. Some people, want to hold on to the land and wait and see. Like there's lots of different things happening all at the same time.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose there's lots of different ways of looking at it. But out of anything tragic that comes out, there's always something positive that can come out of it. If you're open to it. If you can see the opportunities, so there will be opportunities moving forward. And so for you at Black Briar, who are you looking to connect with and what's next for you?
Yeah, I think for us, like we always want to connect with investors that want to invest with us. We partnered with a lot of different investors that have kind of brought capital into our projects, right? That want to invest. They want to have some equity in the deal. I think we could break down a deal and talk about what deals we've done and what they look like and what sort of exits you might see. I could give some scenario-based stuff that we've done before. So we're definitely looking to connect with investors. We're definitely looking to connect with homeowners that maybe, just need help, need advice, want to know, what's the best pathway forward for them to either build a house that they just want to build, or maybe they are in a situation that they did lose the house in the fire and they just want some advice about the best way to move forward. We often come on board for pre-construction services for a period of time where we help them assemble their design team, help them take the plans through permitting, and then obviously bid and price the works and agree a contract for the house to be built. But typically that's what we like to do. We don't do design ourselves, but what we do is we partner with some of the best architects, some of the best designers in the world, to make sure that we can deliver like nothing other than, really, really high end product, really, really high end homes, the best of the best. That's what we tend to do. Is we like to build cool shit, is what I like to say. That's what we want to do. We like to build stuff that's difficult to build. A lot of other people would be scared of building. And we like to do it in a super efficient way. That the process is enjoyable, right? That if the ride is going to be as great as the process, because at the end of the day, I always tell clients, people building houses, I'm like, listen, if you don't love this process that you're going to go through of building this house, of the design process, of picking everything, of the ins and outs of construction, because there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be things that aren't perfect that we have to change and correct along the way. That's just the nature of building. If you don't love that process, just go buy a finished house. Don't deal with this process, because we might be building this house for 2-3 years. By the time you're building a 10,000 square foot house, it takes you a year to permit it and 2 years to build it. I mean, that's a long process, a long road, 3 years of your life. If you don't want to get into this and just enjoy it, go do something else. Buy a finished house and, don't be involved. But, we also have some clients that they want to be in and out, and they run in businesses, they're billionaires, they're super, disconnected, and they hire an owner's rep to oversee it, but they still kind of want to be involved. They just want to be like in a situation that they fly in once a month, they make all the decisions, and then they get out of town, whatever they need to do. We can do that too. But, at least try to enjoy the process of building your house,
Yeah, great advice there. Otherwise, yes, buy one that's already been built.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So look, finally, Dan, look, here at Icons, we're not just a podcast. We're passionate about making podcasting accessible to everybody involved in the business of real estate, whether they're realtors, brokers, investors, whatever, because we are the #1 real estate podcast network. So, for you, Dan, I mean, you're in quite a niche area, really, in general. If you had your own podcast, what do you reckon you'd call it?
Yeah, it's something I have thought about and something I have been considering. And I think the name that I came up with, which I guess could be controversial, was the Down and Dirty podcast.
The Down and Dirty podcast. He's a cheeky Essex boy.
Exactly. Because, it's construction's down and dirty, but it could come off a little risque, was the reason I was like, unsure about it. Like, wait, what is this? Is this an SM podcast?
Oh, you just got to have the right tagline. You'll be fine. No, I think that's really cool. I think that's really unique. So awesome. So look, any of the listeners, if they want to reach out or they want to find you, they're interested in going through, enjoying the journey. How do they reach you? Where do they find you? Yeah,
no worries. So best place to check us out. Well, we're on all of the social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, but Black Briar Development on Instagram. Start with that. You can also go to builtblackbriar.com, which is our website. You can see all of our portfolio of work there, the houses that we built. But we're constantly posting content about the houses that we're building and about the process of how we built things, right? So we like to talk through, what did we install? How did we do it? What's the most high-end things that are being built in high-end homes right now? What are the best technologies? What are the best materials? How are we crafting them? We're showing lots of interesting things that we're doing with stone, with woodwork, with millwork, and how these things and these details are being crafted, and what is the most forward thinking and the best things for luxury high-end real estate right now. So you can follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn as well. But builtblackbriar.com is our website, and Black Briar Development is our Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time out today.
You're very welcome.
For speaking to me. Yeah, it's been fun. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.